What's up YouTube, Dal here from Zephyr, and today we're here with Marvin, and Marvin has MimiGhouls at the pre-release weekend. They were able to play those decks today, so it was kind of nice and interesting to see the deck in operation, how it worked. There's a couple of changes that he'll make after this, but for now we're just going to go through the list of the main and the extra deck to try and show you a demo list of what you might be looking for, and then explain the new cards. So Marvin, take it away.
Thanks. So I'll start with sort of like the MimiGhoul engine. So 3 dragon, obviously probably your best starter in terms of getting spells. 3 Archfiend, obviously really good card in terms of just helping get rid of cards and helping you gain card advantage.
So what is it? So the dragon on normal or special searches you out a MimiGhoul spell.
Yep.
On flip, so obviously everyone should know what the MimiGhouls do. You can basically give them to your opponent face down. On flip, the dragon destroys all of your opponent's monsters and then obviously goes to the opponent's side of the field. Archfiend is on summon, you can flip one of your opponent's face down monsters face up, and then if it is flipped up itself, it makes the person that currently controls it discard a card and your opponent draws a card. So the idea is you give your MimiGhoul to your opponent, you flip it face up, you trigger the effect and go from there.
And then one of the other old ones, Cerberus, obviously if you flip it, banish 3, and then your opponent has to summon 1 to your field. And then also 1 master as well. Obviously search for a MimiGhoul monster, and then obviously ability to flip again on their turn. For the new MimiGhoul monsters, I went 2 slime. So which if it's flipped up, you can special summon a MimiGhoul from deck. So obviously can help you get into sort of dragon or archfiend or master. And fairy, which when it's flipped, stops the opponent's special summon monsters from hand for activating their effects on the field. Obviously, the good thing about the new slime and fairy is that if you control MimiGhoul or if they control a face down, you can special summon it to your field. So they kind of act as extenders as well to get into the extra deck. So I play a really small. So that's it for the MimiGhoul monsters.
So as you see, like a couple of the old ones, luckily the old Ultra has kind of gone down to a 1-off, which is quite nice to see. And then it's basically just getting hold of Dragons and Archfiend, which we kind of knew were pretty good with when we first got them. Yeah,
so I play a small Kashtira engine. So 3 Unicorn, 1 Fenrir, and I guess 1 Birth. So Unicorn, obviously really easy to sort of hand rip, and with the new sort of continuous spell, there's a potential you could ultimately rip from the extra deck for about 6 times in 2 turns. And obviously Fenrir and Birth sort of speak for itself.
Yeah, so obviously for those who are unfamiliar, the reason for the Kashtira package is the idea is that when you're given a MimiGhoul to your opponent and then you flip it face up, it's your opponent that's activating the effect. So that when they do that, that's when you can trigger something like Unicorn to look at your opponent's extra deck. And that's also why you'll see later on in the profile that Frost and Talons is absolutely insane in the deck as well.
So hand traps, 3 Shifter, 3 Ash, and 3 Imperm. But you can play on the Shifter, and obviously Ash and Imperm. As for the sort of the spells, so 3 of the field spell.
So Dungeon's the nuts one. Dungeon lets you, your MimiGhoul monsters you control that were not normal summoned or special this turn gain attack equal to their defense. And then any player that controls a face down monster cannot normal summon, which is really quite important as well, because you kind of slow your opponent down. You force them to flip your MimiGhoul, and then that's where other cards come into play to then flip their other monsters face down. And then during the main phase, you get to add a MimiGhoul monster from the deck to the hand, deck or graveyard to the hand, so it gives you a lot of recurability.
2 Maker. So this obviously lets you search for 2, special 1 to their field, face down, and then you can add the other one to hand, and then you can special any MimiGhoul from hand, which obviously can help you extend and start setting off the effects. 1 Charm. So this is the new one where if one of your MimiGhoul monsters activate their effect, the face down ones, then you can randomly special summon, if you can, one of the MimiGhoul one of their extra deck monsters. But obviously caveat to that, please make sure you don't summon something that locks you into something that you can't summon. So
yeah, unfortunately, so it is kind of like mandatory to summon that card once you do it. So once per chain during the main phase, if a MimiGhoul monster your opponent controls is flipped face up, you can randomly choose 1 face down card in your opponent's extra deck, and if it is a monster that can be special summoned, you special summon it. And if it's on your field, but it can't attack, you special summon it to your field, sorry, but it cannot attack. So the issue is, or activates effects. So the issue is when you do that, if you were to take, and we saw this happen with Marvin, unfortunately, if you were to unluckily take a princess from your opponent's extra deck, it will fire lock you. But that's just part of it. You can do that effect twice per turn, which is also quite interesting.
So I put 2 of these in. MimiGhoul Fork obviously has the effect that the opponent chooses whether to change one of the monsters that you have face down on their field up into attack or defense, so activating the effect, or they can send it to draw 2 cards, so that I draw 2 cards. So it came up a little bit, but it wasn't as helpful as I thought it might be. And then just to sort of round off the other 2 MimiGhoul cards, so 2 room, obviously the special summon from deck, which can be really helpful if you got the combo being dungeon on the field, and they sort of flip it up, then you summon 1 and it prevents them from normal summoning. And just for the rest of the spell cards, so 2 talents, 2 thrust, 1 part, even though I didn't actually have it in, forgot to put it in, terraforming, and currently called by the grave. So so thrust and talents are superb in this deck, because the moment you activate the MimiGhoul effects on their field, these become live. And with thrust as well, obviously you can special summon to their side, so you can just activate thrust and add to hand rather than set as well.
Yeah, so this is one of the decks, quite like Dark Worlds, where being able to play something like Thrust and like Talents is absolutely insane, because you control when you're like in a normal deck. You're like, okay, please have a hand trap, please have a hand trap. They hand trap you and you go, okay, cool, Talents in retaliation. Whereas this one, you actually control that happening. Like, you don't give your opponent that choice to do it, which is just absolutely insane.
So that's it for the main deck. So as for the extra deck, so 2 of the new giant MimiGhoul. It's an absolute broken card on summon adds, and then for every face down monster they have on their field, you can target face up cards, destroy them, and then burn them for 1,000 for each card.
Yeah, so it's a generic rank 1, and it requires 2 materials. And then your non-XYZ MimiGhoul monsters get to attack directly, which is crazy, while your opponent controls a face-down monster. And then you can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If it is XYZ summoned, you get to add a MimiGhoul card from your deck to the hand. Insane. But then you also have the ability to detach 1 material from this card, then target face-up cards on the field up to the number of face-down monsters your opponent currently controls, and you destroy them. And then if you do, you inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent for each. So it's as if it needed all of those different stages. It's a searcher, it's a destructor, it's a burner, and then it also gives you the capability of, if you were to play something like Quaking Mirror Force, for example, and flip all your opponent's stuff face down, it then just goes, all right, well, all the little MimiGhouls with dungeon in play are going to be insanely strong, and they can just like OTK over a board that's flipped face down.
And then 1 MimiGhoul Throne. It didn't come up much, but obviously the effect to sort of summon a master, which then gets you another card. Then you can sort of equip this to the master to give it extra attack, and then I think it also has a bounce effect, but I never sort of used it in the game.
Yeah, so this one isn't generic. It does require 2 level 1 MimiGhouls to be specific, so make sure that you're keeping an eye on that. But most of your level 1 should be MimiGhouls anyway. You get the ability to detach your card, and then special summon a MimiGhoul Master. Again, directly has to be MimiGhoul Master from hand, deck, or grave. And then during the main phase, you get a quick effect to target a MimiGhoul Master you control to equip this card to it as an equip spell that gives it 1,000 attack. And then you can return cards from the field to the hand up to the number of materials this card had. You can only use 1 thrown effect per turn, and only once that turn. So obviously less reliant than giant MimiGhoul.
So those are the sort of the new MimiGhoul XEs. Then I've got number 13 and number 31. Obviously really good in this deck because they can flip face down monsters face up, and if you got both on the field, then it kind of puts the opponent into a difficult situation when they have to attack and they take the battle damage.
Yeah, it's a nice little soft lock, which is always going to be interesting.
Then just the sort of Zeus combo, Lyrilisk, Downard, and Zeus. So attack directly, and then you've got a Zeus for 4 with 4. Then as for the links, obviously IPSP. I don't think I need to say much about that. And then this combo, which I found out because I thought MimiGhoul didn't really have the ability to sort of maybe OTK or sort of beat in one turn. So I've got 1 Almirage, 1 G-Golem Summoner, 1 Crystal Heart, 1 Heat Soul, and then 1 Access Code Talker. So if you obviously if you've got any of the MimiGhoul normal summons can summon the Almirage. If you have been able to flip over some of the MimiGhouls and bring them to your field, then you can summon the summon Mimir, because it only requires 2 Earth monsters. Then you sort of link these 2 away to get the Yugioh and Crystal Heart. Crystal Heart will bring back the summon of Mimir, who has an effect when it's brought back from grave to add or special summon an Earth monster from the graveyard. So I can either special it or add it. These 2 go into Heat Soul, which ultimately I can obviously get a bit of card advantage. But then obviously if I've specialed off for this, I now have 4, which gets me into Access Code Talker with sort of obviously a Link 3 with also 1, 2, 3 pops as well.
Yeah. And then 4 including Access itself. So it's kind of a really nice engine. It just takes up 5 slots, but it can work, which is quite interesting. And like we said, the deck itself is still in its demo phase. Like, it's not something we can follow the OCG on. It's not something that we can, like, you just adapt it with the new support as it keeps coming, and the new support is actually really good. Like, watching the deck today was quite interesting to see how it interacted, how it works, and there's a lot of learning curves of when you go, okay, right, I might adapt this, I might need to change that, but I feel that the overall list itself is pretty solid. I feel that the new ones are perfect at 2s each from the looks of it. Cerberus is kind of okay at 1, like even in previous versions 1 was more than enough. If you don't want to play the Kashtira package, of course that's where you might start to adapt to like stuff like Book of Eclipses, Book of Moons, maybe some other cards like that, but ultimately if you're able to play that, you're giving yourself the most advantage to take away those core cards that might break your board from your opponent's extra deck, as well as then being able to continue to make into your rank 1s and everything else in between. So I feel the new support is absolutely insane for the deck. I really do like it, and I feel that they've, apart from Charm, which is the only one that's like, that doesn't feel like its rarity matches its effectiveness, but then I'm also quite happy that they kept all of the main deck MimiGhoul monsters themselves as supers, because then they all kind of match, apart from Master, but the Master is the Master for a reason. Anyway, that's it for the entire profile, so thank you so much for Marvin on that one. Like I said, he got to play it today, which is quite interesting to see and watch, and it's going to be interesting to see how this deck develops as it goes down the line, with either another wave of TCG support or, of course, that all-important OCG support when they get it. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.